Hey guys, it's Luke here. And yesterday there was a question about the speed work and especially differences between the book and calculator and all that good stuff. So there was some references as far as the they didn't match up, and there's reasons why they don't match up. So I have a copy of the book right here, and I just want to go into this a little bit because I wrote an explanation yesterday, but I don't. It's tough to write something like that and come across the way you want to sometimes. So right now I'm looking at page 70 in the book, which is the individual workout. So like right now I'm looking at the 12 by 400, 8 by 600, 6 by 800, all that good stuff. And so you have in these charts, you have 5K goal, 10K goal, and then your pace for each repeat. And so most people, when they look at this, they're taking what they've actually run for a 5K or 10K, or what they're planning on doing. So remember that when this plan was developed, it was for the Detroit Marathon, which is in middle of October, and so you'd start in like June training. And a lot of people were still doing 5Ks and 10Ks and stuff during the summer, doing their summer road racing before kind of completely switching over to the fall marathon. So a lot of times, I mean, this is literally a direct copy from like what Kevin and Keith would give people at Tuesday night speed sessions that they would host. So there's no difference. And I've given you exactly what they would give people. And so the thing with this is that somebody would look and they're say, okay, I'm going to try to run 20 minutes for this 5K coming up. And then they would scroll over and see what their goal pace would be for each repeat. So if you take that in one hand, so that's what you've actually run or what you're trying to run for a 5K, then you can kind of go into table 3.5, which I think is what most people reference. On page 92, and this is the second edition of the book. And so you have table 3.5 training paces, and then you have, say you're training for a 3:30 marathon, recoveries like 10:20 A and B, which is a range, not an either or, 9:40 to 9 minutes, and then you go all the way down to long run pace, marathon tempo pace, strength pace, 10K speed, 5K speed. And so those are going to be different than what's on those charts, because this is what's taking, you go in, this is 3.5, and this will also be about how the calculator on the site is managed as well. There are some differences, especially to the calculator on the site, because we use that to plug in paces for training plans. So there might be a little bit difference in there because we actually built those in with a little bit of leeway to make sure that people were in the right zone, but also so that paces didn't overlap. It was purely an algorithm thing, not a physiological thing or anything like that. It was simply because we couldn't have paces overlapping at all, because it would confuse the algorithm, and then it wouldn't give you any numbers at all. And so we just kind of fudged those numbers a little bit. You're talking a few seconds either way, to just make sure that those numbers would spit out correctly when you plugged them into your calculator. But in any case, if you plugged in, like you still want to run a 3:30 marathon, and you're getting those paces out of the calculator, or you're getting those paces in this 5K and 10K speed, you're kind of reverse engineering a race equivalency chart, right? So in a race equivalency chart, you'd say, okay, I've run 20 minutes in a 5K. It's going to tell me I can run X in the marathon. And that might be how you choose your goal. But if you go in and you say, okay, I want to run this goal as a marathon and kind of work it backwards, it's going to give you kind of a reverse race equivalency time for those 5Ks and 10K paces, right? So it's going to say, if you are looking to run this, then you should have been able to run this in a 5K and 10K. And obviously in real life, those numbers might not match up. They're not, you might have a discrepancy between what the marathon says you should be able to run in a 5K and 10K and versus what you've actually run. So most people, what you're going to see, I think, is they've probably run faster in a 5K or 10K than what their goal marathon time suggests. And that makes sense because you're probably going to choose a little bit more conservative marathon goal than what you've run in a 5K or 10K. So you have to look at that. It's kind of reverse engineering that. So it's going to spit out what it thinks you should be able to run in a 5K or 10K. And again, that might not line up to what you have run in the 5K or 10K. So the individual charts in the book for the 400, 600, 800s on up, that's saying that's just giving you a chart based on what you've actually run, not necessarily what a race equivalency type of setup is going to be. Whereas when you plug all the paces in at once, it's asking you what your goal marathon is, and it's giving you times based off of that. So it's not versus what you actually have done. It's versed off, some theoretical analysis there. So that is the big difference there. So that is why you're seeing some discrepancies between those charts in the calculator. And even then you go out there and you say, well, I've actually run faster than this, or you might even run slower than that. So those are potential reasons why you are seeing discrepancies. So don't panic. Don't think one's better than the other, but my opinion would be, if you're newer to the marathon, run the slower of the two paces versus what you've run or what the equivalency tells you. If you're experienced in the marathon, you could probably go more with what you've actually done, and it probably depends too on the time of year too. So like right now in the middle of winter, chances of hitting your top end speed, especially around here where it's icy, cold, snowy, if you try to hit those faster paces, your actual effort's going to be much higher than that. So it's really not doing you much good at that point. But if you take the slower end pace-wise and you match that with the right effort, the effort's going to be actually a little bit faster than those paces. So your effort's probably actually closer to the faster end of what the range says. So just keep that in mind when you're planning. There's some people freaking out, and there's no need to freak out. The point is just to run some speed anyway. So we're not trying to get faster in the 5K or 10K during all this. We're just trying to improve for the marathon. So always keep that in mind. So if we were specifically training for a 5K or 10K, then it would look different. But for the marathon, we don't have to necessarily worry about it quite as much. So I hope that helps you out, and hopefully I was able to explain it talking more than I was with the words writing, but I know I can be confusing either way. So all right guys, I will talk to you later. Hope this helps, and we'll see you later.